The wheels of time grind on, a constant, relentless turning. But why now? What calls us to this precipice? It is the echo of a pattern, a resonance so deep it shakes the very foundations of our being. The internal reckoning, long postponed, has arrived. We begin not with explanation, but with a forgotten story, an ancient whisper from a time before silence. This is the myth of Kronos, the devouring father, a figure whose shadow stretches across millennia. In the quiet halls of psychoanalysis, Carl Jung recognized this pattern, this primal archetype that recurs, demanding our attention. It shapes our inner landscape, dictating the rhythm of our lives as surely as the turning of the earth. We will trace this Saturnian force, not as a simple villain, but as a sacred initiator. He is the shattering hand that breaks what was, clearing the rubble for what must be born. Through the smoky rituals of Roman antiquity, the cryptic symbols of alchemy, and the arduous journey of individuation, we will uncover how this titan molds soul. For unresolved complexes, these knots of buried pain and unacknowledged truth often masquerade as fate. They become the chains of karmic time, binding us to cycles of repetition. Our very world, our structures, begin to crumble when this force is ignored. This exploration is not mere history, it is an inner codex, a map to the soul's uncharted territories. It is the inevitable encounter with Saturn, the god who brings time back to collect what was left undone. The hunger began in the mists of time, a primordial gnawing at the edges of existence. Kronos, the titan of the ages, bore a fear as vast as the sky itself. He had overthrown his own father, Uranus, and in that act of cosmic rebellion, he had sown the seeds of his own dread. The whispers of prophecy, as insidious as ivy, told him that his own children would rise against him, mirroring his own violent ascent. This fear, this consuming anxiety, calcified within him. How does a god, a titan of immense power, confront such a terrifying inevitability? He chooses a desperate, brutal path. He decides to prevent his own downfall by eradicating its very possibility. Each child born to Rhea, each new flicker of life, was met with the same insatiable maw. The cries of the newborn were muffled, extinguished before they could even form a true sound. This was not a sudden act of madness, but a slow, deliberate descent into a terrible logic. He believed he was preserving his reign, his place in the cosmic order, but in doing so, he was not preserving anything. He was annihilating the future, silencing the very potential that defined his existence. He was creating a tomb where a throne should have been. This act of consumption, this act of paternal terror, etched itself into the fabric of myth, a chilling testament to the destructive power of unchecked fear and the desperate desire for control. And in this act of primal consumption, a profound truth about the shadowed corners of the psyche is revealed, a truth that resonates far beyond ancient myth. But what does this devouring truly signify when it lurks not in the heavens, but within our own hearts? In the next section, we will explore Saturn as the architect of imprisoned time, delving into the structures he erects around our deepest selves. And real quick, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos just like this. Now let's keep going. The celestial clock ticks, each second a hammer blow against the fragile edifice of our present. Saturn, or Kronos, is not merely a distant celestial body. He is the architect of the very framework within which we experience time. He crafts the boundaries, the limits, the unyielding structures that define our reality. This is the essence of imprisoned time, a concept far more insidious than mere chronological progression. Think of the moments that feel like eternal loops, the patterns of behavior that repeat despite our deepest desires for change. These are the walls Saturn erects, seemingly solid and inescapable. They are born from a deep-seated fear of chaos, a need to impose order on the formless. This order, however, often becomes a gilded cage. He is the master builder of our internal prisons, the architect who designs the very cells of our recurring anxieties. These structures are not always external. They are the internalized rules, the rigid expectations, the limitations we place upon ourselves, often without even realizing their origin. He is the embodiment of the past's grip, the gravitational pull that keeps us tethered to what was, preventing true motion forward. When we feel trapped, when life's possibilities seem to shrink to a suffocating crawl, we are experiencing the architecture of Saturnian time. It is the weight of responsibility, the burden of consequence, the slow, inexorable march towards what must be faced. This is the cosmic timekeeper, ensuring that nothing escapes his profound sense of order, even if that order leads to stagnation. This masterful construction of confinement, however, hints at a deeper purpose, a shadow cast by an even more formidable presence. We have glimpsed the architect of our temporal prisons, but what lies within the heart of the power that compels such creation? In the next section, we will confront the shadow of the father, the oppressive paternal legacy that shapes our deepest fears. The weight of a paternal presence, real or perceived, can be a formidable force. It shapes our understanding of authority, our relationship with rules, and our very sense of self-worth. This is the shadow of the father, an archetype that looms large in the human psyche, casting long and often disorienting effects. It is the voice of judgment, the internalized critic, the relentless standard against which we measure our achievements, or more often, our failures. This shadow isn't necessarily malicious. It is often born from a desire to protect, to guide, to instill discipline. But in its extreme or unexamined form, it can become a suffocating force. We carry the echoes of paternal expectations, the unspoken directives that dictate who we should be. When these expectations are unfulfilled, when the paternal gaze feels disapproving, a deep wound can form. This wound festers, manifesting as self-doubt, a crippling fear of imperfection, or an endless quest for external validation. The shadow of the father is the specter that haunts our aspirations, whispering doubts when we dare to step outside the prescribed order. It is the internalized guardian who keeps us from straying too far from the known path, even when that path leads to despair. It is an ancient echo, a primal imprint of authority that demands our attention, often through the language of restriction and consequence. This oppressive shadow, however, is not the ultimate end. Such darkness often serves to illuminate a crucial point of transition, a gateway to profound change. We have seen the shadow of the father, but what lies beyond its imposing presence? In the next section, we will explore Saturn's ring as a threshold, a boundary that promises both separation and connection. Imagine a celestial circlet, not of gold or jewels, but of ice and dust, a testament to ancient cosmic collisions. This is Saturn's ring, a visual metaphor for a profound psychological reality. It is a boundary, a demarcation, a threshold that signifies both separation and, paradoxically, connection. The ring stands as a barrier, a point beyond which the familiar world ends and the unknown begins. It separates the planet from the vast expanse of space, a clear line of division. On a psychological level, this represents the edges of our conscious awareness, the limits of what we understand and readily accept about ourselves. Yet, this boundary is not absolute. It is permeable, a place where things can enter or exit. It is a liminal space, a zone of transition. For Saturn, this ring is the very definition of his domain, the edge of his influence, but also the zone where celestial bodies are drawn into his orbit, becoming part of his system, however distant. This threshold is where transformation occurs. To cross it is to enter a new phase, to leave behind the old self and confront unfamiliar territories. It is the point where established order meets the potential for radical change. The ring of Saturn, therefore, is not just an outer layer. It is an inner barrier that, when faced, becomes a portal. It is the edge of the known world, the point of no return, a place where the soul must decide whether to retreat or to step forward into the vastness of its own potential. We have seen this ring as a boundary, but what lies in the consequences of crossing it, of embracing such a liminal state? In the next section, we will delve into karma as structural repetition, understanding how our actions create enduring patterns. The threads of our lives are woven with countless choices, each one leaving an imprint, a resonance. Karma, in its most profound sense, is not a system of reward or punishment, but a principle of structural repetition. It is the echo of our actions, the enduring pattern that our choices create, both within ourselves and in the external world. Think of a stone dropped into a perfectly still pond. The initial splash is the action, but the ripples that spread outward, interacting and multiplying, are the karmic consequences. These ripples are not isolated events. They influence the next drop, the next disturbance, shaping the pond's subsequent movements. Our unresolved issues, our unacknowledged desires, our past traumas, these are the stones we repeatedly drop. They create the same patterns of disturbance, the same familiar cycles of joy and pain. Karma is this inherent tendency for structures once formed to persist and replicate themselves. It is the universe's way of teaching us the enduring impact of our choices. It is the universe reflecting back to us the fundamental nature of what we have set in motion. When we find ourselves repeatedly facing similar challenges, experiencing the same emotional landscapes, it is often an indication of this structural repetition at play. We are caught in the currents of our own making, drawn by the gravity of our past decisions. This ingrained repetition, this dance with consequence, hints at a deeper, more tangible force that draws us into these cycles. We have explored karma as structural repetition, but what is the fundamental element that lends such weight to these patterns? In the next section, we will examine alchemical lead and Saturnian gravity, the foundational weight that anchors our experiences. In the crucible of the alchemist, certain elements possessed a profound significance, a deep symbolic weight. Among them, lead stands paramount, inextricably linked to the domain of Saturn. Lead is heavy, dense, resistant to transformation. It is the earthly embodiment of Saturnian gravity. This gravity is not merely physical. It is the psychological weight of unresolved issues, the inertia of ingrained patterns, the dense resistance to change that can hold a soul captive. Alchemical lead represents the primal state, the unrefined potential, the darkness from which all things must eventually emerge, but only through immense pressure and meticulous work. Saturn's gravity is what keeps us grounded, yes, but it is also what can anchor us in stagnation. It is the force that pulls us back to the familiar, the comfortable, even when that comfort is laced with suffering. This is the density of experience, the accumulation of time and deed that lends substance to our reality, but also, at times, a crushing burden. The process of alchemy sought to transmute lead into gold, to refine the base essence into its purest, most luminous form. This is the profound truth embedded in Saturnian gravity. The darkness, the weight, the resistance are not merely obstacles. They are the raw material, the foundational substance that must be understood, integrated, and eventually transmuted for true spiritual growth to occur. This heavy foundation, this primal density, is not an end point, but a starting point for profound cosmic ritual. We have felt the pull of Saturnian gravity, but what ancient practices acknowledge and address this fundamental weight? In the next section, we will explore Roman Saturnalia and reversal rites, uncovering rituals of liberation and inversion. In the heart of ancient Rome, during the darkest days of winter, a peculiar festival bloomed, Saturnalia. It was a time of inversion, a brief but potent period when the established order was playfully, yet profoundly, overturned. This was more than just a holiday, it was a Saturnian ritual, a recognition of the cyclical nature of power and the necessary release from rigid structures. During Saturnalia, societal roles were temporarily reversed. Masters served their slaves, and a king of the Saturnalia was chosen by lot, granted temporary absolute authority, only to be ritually executed or banished at the festival's end. This was a symbolic acknowledgement that even the highest authority is subject to change, that no structure is eternal. These reversal rites were a necessary release valve. Life under Saturn's strict order could become suffocatingly rigid. Saturnalia allowed for a temporary shattering of those chains, a moment where the usual constraints of duty, hierarchy, and decorum were lifted. It was a cathartic expression, a recognition that even the most solid structures must occasionally be shaken. This act of inversion was not chaos for chaos's sake. It was a deliberate, sacred act designed to disrupt the potential for stagnation that Saturn's influence could bring. By reversing the natural order, the Romans acknowledged its underlying fragility and the essential need for renewal. It was a ritualistic reminder that the Titan of time, while the architect of structure, also presided over inevitable cycles of dismantling and rebirth. This ancient festival, with its topsy-turvy celebrations, speaks to a deeper awareness of forces at play, unseen but ever present. We have witnessed these rites of reversal, but what cosmic mechanism orchestrates such cosmic adjustments? In the next section, we will explore the eye that watches the clock, the divine observer within the machinery of time itself. There is a watchfulness inherent in the passage of time, a sense that each moment is observed, recorded, accounted for. This is the eye that watches the clock, a cosmic awareness that transcends mere mechanical measurement. It is the silent witness within the grand machinery of existence, the consciousness that imbues temporal progression with meaning and consequence. Imagine a vast, celestial clock, its hands sweeping across an infinite dial. This eye is not one of the hands, nor is it the mechanism. It is the awareness that perceives the movement, understands the cycles, and holds the record of every tick and tock. It is the universal mind that sees the unfolding of cause and effect, the pattern woven through the fabric of all moments. This is the awareness that underlies the sense of destiny, the feeling that our lives are unfolding according to an unseen plan, or perhaps a profound accounting. It is the inner knowing that our actions, however small, are not lost in the void, but are integrated into the grand narrative. It is the gaze that ensures that time, in its relentless march, is also a process of profound observation. This pervasive watchfulness can feel like a judgment, a relentless scrutiny, but it is more akin to an impartial record keeper, ensuring that the integrity of temporal flow is maintained. It is the subtle reminder that every second is a moment of creation, a point of truth that is perpetually observed. This ever-present gaze, this cosmic observer, does not operate in isolation. It is intrinsically linked to the subtle, almost imperceptible synchronicities that populate our lives. We have perceived this watching eye, but how does its awareness manifest in the world around us? In the next section, we will explore synchronicity as Saturn's soft voice, the gentle nudges that guide us. The universe often speaks not in thunderous pronouncements, but in whispers, in uncanny coincidences that seem too perfect to be accidental. This is synchronicity, and it is often the soft voice of Saturn, the subtle communication of the cosmic clock. It is the meaningful overlap of inner and outer events, a gentle nudge from the architect of time. These moments, when a thought aligns precisely with an external occurrence or a dream prefigures a waking event, are not random. They are the universe's way of guiding us, of confirming that we are on a particular path, or perhaps subtly redirecting us. Saturn, in his role as the master of time and structure, is also the orchestrator of these meaningful convergences. He does not force our hand, but rather draws our attention to the intricate, interconnected nature of reality. Synchronicity is the universe's affirmation, a gentle affirmation that our inner life resonates with the outer world. It is the quiet reassurance that we are not adrift, but part of a grander, interwoven design. When we notice these patterns, when we pay attention to the coincidences that dot our days, we are listening to Saturn's subtle intelligence. It is an invitation to deeper awareness, a call to recognize the hidden order that governs our lives. This soft voice is an essential element in understanding the unfolding of our personal timelines. These subtle signals, these moments of alignment, often point towards something that remains unacknowledged, a vital part of ourselves that has yet to be integrated. We have felt the gentle nudge of synchronicity, but what part of us remains elusive, untouched by this guiding force? In the next section, we will explore the child Saturn cannot digest, the innocent essence that resists consumption. Within the stern structures and the heavy inevitability that Saturn represents, there exists a core of pure, untainted innocence. This is the child Saturn cannot digest, the symbol of uncorrupted potential that forever eludes the Titan's fearful grasp. It is the essence of our original being, the spark of life that preceded the calcification of fear and the imposition of order. Kronos, in his consuming dread, sought to devour his children to prevent their future autonomy. Yet there is a part of the child, an element of the innocent soul, that is fundamentally indigestible, eternally beyond the reach of fear-driven consumption. This is the spirit that remembers before it is taught, that feels before it is judged, that exists in pure being before it is shaped by external forces. This undigested child represents the innate capacity for joy, for wonder, for unburdened existence. It is the part of us that, even in the darkest of times, can yearn for light and refuse to be entirely extinguished. It is the seed of authenticity that, though buried, still carries the promise of its own unique blossoming. The fear of devouring, the anxiety of being consumed by the world's harsh realities, can make us believe this child is lost. But its indigestibility is precisely its power. It is the resilient core, the untamed spirit that, with gentle attention, can begin to re-emerge and guide us back to a more authentic path. This element of pure, untainted being, so resistant to being consumed, points to a deeper struggle within our own psyches. We have recognized this resilient child, but what is the internal battleground where this struggle for authenticity takes place? In the next section, we will explore Saturn and the fear of inner authority, the resistance to embracing our own truth. The weight of external expectations, the rigid structures of societal norms, can create a deep-seated fear within us. The fear of our own inner authority. Saturn, as the archetype of order and responsibility, can become entangled with this apprehension. We are conditioned to bow to external authority, to accept rules and doctrines that are presented as absolute. This conditioning can lead us to suppress our own intuition, our inner voice that whispers truths about what is right for us. The fear is that if we were to truly listen to ourselves, if we were to embrace our own inner authority, we would deviate from the established path. We might be seen as rebellious, as undisciplined, as failing to meet some unspoken standard. Saturn's influence, when internalized without critical discernment, can amplify this fear. It can manifest as a constant self-doubt, a persistent feeling of not being good enough, of needing external validation to confirm our worth. This is the fear of wielding our own compass, of trusting our own judgment when it contradicts the prevailing narrative. When we repress our inner authority, we inadvertently give away our power. We become susceptible to external control, allowing structures and systems that may not serve our highest good to dictate our lives. This can lead to a profound sense of disempowerment, a feeling of being adrift without an anchor of self-knowledge. This reluctance to embrace our own inner truth, this fear of self-governance, often leads us to create limitations that become increasingly suffocating. We have felt the fear of inner authority, but what happens when these limitations solidify into unbreakable barriers? In the next section, we will explore the boundaries that become walls, the psychological prisons we construct. The boundaries we establish are meant to protect, to define our space, to offer a sense of security. But when fear and unresolved issues take root, these protective edges can harden, transforming from permeable borders into impenetrable walls. This is the essence of the boundaries that become walls, the psychological prisons we inadvertently construct. These walls are built from our deepest anxieties, our most persistent doubts, and our unacknowledged wounds. They are the self-imposed limitations that prevent us from reaching out, from connecting authentically, from exploring new territories beyond our comfort zone. They are the silent guards that keep us confined within the known, the predictable, the safe. The fortress we build to protect ourselves can, over time, become a cage. The very structures we erect to maintain order and control can trap us, preventing growth and stifling our authentic expression. We may believe we are safeguarding ourselves, but in reality, we are isolating ourselves from the richness and complexity of life. These walls can manifest in various ways. In our relationships, our career choices, our creative pursuits, and our spiritual lives. They are the invisible barriers that whisper, "Stay here, it's safer, you won't be hurt." But safety within these walls often comes at the cost of freedom and genuine self-discovery. The confinement within these self-made prisons can become so ingrained that we forget the outside world even exists. Yet, there is a natural marker, a cosmic milestone, that compels us to confront these barriers and the passage of time. We have felt the weight of these walls, but what is the inevitable marker that forces us to confront their existence? In the next section, we will explore Saturn's return and the age marker, the profound reckoning that time brings. Time, in its relentless procession, inscribes itself upon our lives. There comes a point, a significant marker, when the past converges with the present in a powerful, unavoidable confrontation. This is Saturn's return, a profound astrological and psychological phenomenon that signifies an age marker, a turning point in our journey. Approximately every 29.5 years, Saturn completes a full orbit around the Sun, returning to the same position it occupied at our birth. This transit is not merely a celestial event observable through telescopes. It is a deep internal mirroring. Suddenly, the accumulated weight of your years, the decisions made, the lessons learned or ignored, come into sharp focus. Saturn's return is like a cosmic audit. It demands an honest assessment of where you have been and where you are going. It is a time of reckoning where the structures you have built, the boundaries you have set, and the responsibilities you have undertaken are rigorously examined. If these structures are not sound, if they are based on illusion or avoidance, they will likely crumble. This period is often marked by a heightened sense of seriousness, a stripping away of superficialities, and an urgent need to confront reality. It is a challenging, but ultimately transformative time, an opportunity to shed what no longer serves, and to establish a more authentic foundation for the remainder of your life. It is the universe's way of ensuring that we do not become lost in the echoes of our own constructions. This profound personal audit, this cosmic recalibration, often brings to the forefront deep-seated archetypes of confinement and upheaval. We have acknowledged Saturn's return as an age marker, but what ancient symbol reflects the dramatic restructuring that this period entails? In the next section, we will explore Saturn and the Tower archetype, the symbol of sudden, inevitable collapse. In the symbolic language of tarot and in the deep currents of human experience, the Tower stands as a potent archetype of sudden, unavoidable upheaval. It is a structure, often depicted as a tall, imposing edifice, struck by lightning and crumbling into ruin. This archetype is intimately connected with Saturn, representing the dramatic dismantling that his influence can bring about, especially during his return. The Tower symbolizes the collapse of false structures, of ego-bound beliefs, and of rigid, outdated systems that no longer serve our highest good. It is the lightning bolt of truth that shatters illusions, revealing the foundations upon which we have built our lives. This destruction, while often traumatic, is ultimately a necessary prelude to renewal. Saturn, as the planet of time, karma, and structure, presides over the construction and deconstruction of these edifices. When Saturn's influence is ignored, when we build our lives on shaky ground or cling to outdated paradigms, the Tower archetype waits. Its appearance signifies that the time for superficial adjustments is over, and a radical, albeit painful, transformation is imminent. The fall of the tower is not an arbitrary act of destruction. It is the consequence of accumulated imbalances, the inevitable outcome of ignoring the underlying truths of existence. It is a stark reminder that true growth often requires the demolition of what has become constricting, allowing for the emergence of something new and more authentic. This archetype of sudden collapse speaks to a deeper understanding of time, one that is not linear but cyclical and imbued with a deceptive radiance. We have witnessed the fall of the tower, but what is the alluring illusion that masks a more profound temporal deception? In the next section, we will explore Saturn's false light and Gnostic time, the captivating illusion of perfected temporal control. The Gnostics, in their ancient wisdom, spoke of a flawed demiurge, a lesser creator who fashioned a material world that was, in essence, a prison. Central to their understanding was the concept of flawed time, a temporal illusion designed to keep humanity bound to the material realm, unaware of its divine origin. This is the realm of Saturn's false light, a seductive illusion of perfected temporal control. Saturn, as the lord of time and structure, can manifest as this false light. It offers a promise of order, of predictability, of a timeline that can be mastered and controlled. This is the allure of linear progression, of achieving all goals within a predetermined schedule, of believing that life is a series of boxes to be ticked. This false light distracts us from the deeper, cyclical, and often chaotic nature of true spiritual time. It can lead us to chase external achievements, believing that fulfillment lies in reaching a certain point on a temporal map, rather than in the profound unfolding of the present moment. It is the illusion of arriving, of having arrived, of having perfected our temporal trajectory. The Gnostic concept of time as a trap, a series of moments designed to keep the soul entranced and unaware of its true, eternal nature, resonates deeply with Saturn's dual role. He can be the wise elder guiding us through the cycles of life, or he can be the illusionist, weaving a temporal tapestry that blinds us to the eternal now. This entrapment within a material or temporal illusion has profound consequences for our inner landscape, fracturing our sense of wholeness. We have seen this false light, but how does this temporal fragmentation manifest within our own psychological being? In the next section, we will explore psychological time as soul fragmentation, the breakdown of self through distorted temporal perception. The relentless march of chronological time, when experienced without integration and wholeness, can lead to a profound fragmentation of the soul. This is psychological time as soul fragmentation, a state where our sense of self becomes fractured, scattered across a distorted timeline of past regrets, present anxieties, and future fears. When we are not present, when our awareness is constantly pulled into the echoes of what was or the anxieties of what might be, our inner coherence breaks down. The soul, which yearns for wholeness and presence, becomes splintered. We are no longer a unified being experiencing the present moment. We are a collection of fragmented memories, unresolved emotions, and projected anxieties, all operating within a distorted temporal landscape shaped by Saturn's influence. This fragmentation can lead to a feeling of being disconnected from ourselves, from others, and from the deeper currents of life. It is the experience of living in a perpetual state of almost happy, almost successful, almost present. The pieces of our lives seem to exist independently, without a cohesive narrative or a central point of integration. The challenge lies in recognizing that our perception of time is not merely a passive reception of external events, but an active construction of our inner world. When this construction is distorted by unresolved complexes, the soul itself becomes a fractured mosaic, reflecting the brokenness of our temporal experience. This shattered perception, this feeling of being broken across time, points to a fundamental misunderstanding of our true nature. We have seen the soul's fragmentation, but what is the ultimate truth about Saturn's role in our lives, a truth that transcends judgment? In the next section, we will explore Saturn is the mirror, not the judge, recognizing his role in revealing our authentic selves. The weight of Saturn, the constraints, the challenges, often feel like a judgment. We perceive him as the cosmic punishing figure, the one who dictates our failures and enforces our limitations. But this is a profound misinterpretation. Saturn, in his truest essence, is the mirror, not the judge. He reflects back to us our own limitations, our unacknowledged fears, and the areas where we have not yet integrated our authentic selves. The perceived harshness of Saturn is not an indictment, it is an invitation to self-awareness. The mirror does not condemn what it shows, it simply reveals what is. When we encounter Saturnian challenges, the delays, the responsibilities, the sobering realities, it is an opportunity to look deeply into this mirror. What do we see? Do we see a flawed individual deserving of punishment? Or do we see a soul in the process of becoming, needing to confront certain truths to achieve greater wholeness? Saturn's role is to hold up an unflinchingly honest reflection. He shows us the consequences of our choices, the nature of the structures we have built, and the areas where we have strayed from our own inner truth. This is not judgment. It is the essential process of self-recognition that is vital for any meaningful growth or transformation. By understanding Saturn as the mirror, we can begin to approach life's challenges with a different perspective. Instead of fearing his return or succumbing to his perceived decrees, we can engage with him as a guide, one who offers profound insights into our own being. This powerful revelation, however, demands a final act of courage. We have seen Saturn as the mirror, but how do we finally face this reflection, this ultimate truth? In the next section, we will explore facing Saturn, the soul's inverted gate, the challenging entry into our deepest self. The culminating encounter with Saturn is not an external battle, but an internal one. It is the soul's inverted gate, a challenging, often disorienting passage into the deepest, most authentic core of our being. This is not a gentle opening, it is an inversion, a turning inside out of our preconceived notions of self and reality. To face Saturn in this context is to confront the very structures that have defined our lives, to acknowledge the weight of time, responsibility, and consequence, not as external impositions, but as intrinsic aspects of our own spiritual unfolding. This gate is inverted because it leads not outward to more external structures, but inward into the foundational truths of the soul. This passage requires a profound letting go of the ego's defenses, the familiar masks we wear to navigate the world. It is a descent into the raw, unrefined essence of who we are, stripped of all pretense. The gravity of Saturn, which once felt like a prison, now becomes the force that grounds us in this profound self-encounter. The fear is palpable, for this is a journey into the unknown depths of the self, a place where old identities must die for new ones to be born. It is the threshold of true individuation, where the soul embraces its own authority, its own truth, and its own power, forged in the crucible of Saturnian wisdom. This ultimate confrontation, this inversion of perception, is the true work of the soul. We have reached the threshold of this profound inner gate. Now, make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next one.